Okay, so I'm about to start doing some work on the GTO again. It doesn't really need a lot of work, but one of the things that it needed was front suspension, front and rear suspension bushings and everything was replaced just from being dry rotted. I think the car set, I mean the car's old, but I don't think anything was actually worn out. It just dry rotted from age, so I'm going to be showing some of this. I've already made the video that showed the upper control arm bushings and ball joints. Well, I purchased the rest of the parts now and I'm ready to start putting them on. I'm going to try to get a bunch of this done today. I'm going to be doing the lower control arm bushings and ball joint. I'm going to be doing tie rod ends, also the center link, also new springs and shocks, and I think that's about it. Pretty much every wearable part that can be on the front of the car I bought new. Also, I've now purchased the American Auto Wire wiring harness for the whole car. It's a classic update. I actually bought it off of eBay and I didn't know it at the time, but there's two versions of this. There's an older version and a newer version. And the version I have is the older version, and there's not a lot of difference in the two. But I'm going to make the video of it, but the version I have will be slightly different than the newest version they have out, but the one I bought from eBay was a seller had bought it to restore a 66 GTO, and I guess his restoration didn't end up happening, and he ended up sitting on it for years, you know, like a lot of people do with restorations. He sat on it for years and didn't use it. It hadn't been opened at all. It still hadn't been broken. So it's a brand new kit, very nice kit. And I got it for several $100s cheaper than what I would have to pay for the new one. So I'm happy with it. I think it's going to do the job that I want to do. That will not be in this video. Okay, so I got the tire taken off on this side. And in order to remove the lower control arm and the spring, I'm going to have to remove the tie rod end from the lower control arm here, or from the steering knuckle. Also, I've got these sway bar end links that will have to be taken off. And there's two bolts that hold in the lower control arm. And you can see the upper I've already replaced. But the ball joint connects also right there. So that's also going to have to be removed. And, so that's what I'm going to do, start taking stuff apart. Okay, so I'm going to take off the tie rod end first on this side. It's got a cotter pin in it. And these things have probably not been taken off maybe ever. I don't know. Cotter pin looks kind of rough and small. It came out very easily though. So then I'm just going to get the socket that fits it. The socket is a 5/8. Put it on there. I'll put my breaker bar on there. And it comes loose pretty easily.
battery impact to remove it. This speeds up the process a little bit. You don't have to have that. So now I'm going to break this apart. There are a few different tools to do that with. Pickle fork's probably one of the best, easiest, because I don't have the correct one for a tie rod in. Okay, so this is the tool I ended up using to get this off with. A couple of my tools from Harbor Freight are not that great, and it's not really a surprise. But this tool worked really well for it. The other tool, I couldn't seem to get it driven in there far enough, and I don't have a pickle fork. Pickle fork works really well, but I didn't have enough. I didn't have a small enough pickle fork. So next, I'm going to take loose the sway bar end link, and that's easy. It's just a bolt that runs from the bottom up. You just got to hold the nuts and turn the bolt. Okay, so now I'm taking, you can see I took loose the sway bar bushing. It's just a long bolt, like I said. So now I'm taking loose the lower control arm ball joint, the lower ball joint, and I loosened the nut up and gave a pretty good gap there, and I'm going to use the pickle fork here, and I've already got it driven in. I'm just going to keep hitting it until it wedges itself in between there and pries it apart. So there it is. It popped loose and now it's tied up against the nut. Still has the spring tension on here. That's the reason I left the nut on there, so it wouldn't totally spring out and cause me a problem. Although I don't think that's really too big of a risk either, but I figured we'd try to play it safe. So now I'm just going to loosen this nut up. And you got to be careful, like I'm doing this without compressing the spring. You can compress the spring and probably make it a little bit better. But you got to be careful putting a jack under it, because when it comes loose, the spring will actually lift the car up off the jack stands if you do that. So I'm going to leave it hanging like this. So now the ball joint is completely broken loose, which is what we got to have to get it apart. And you can cut away the old boot, or you can just drive the pickle fork through it, which is what I did. I'm going to get a universal and a ratchet. That will actually help me a little bit. So now I got a universal and a ratchet. I should be able to get it in there. I'm probably going to get a little longer extension. And I need the universal joint because it's at such an angle that it's directly under the upper. So I'm going to loosen this up, and I'm going to stay clear of this part because it could pop down. So when this comes completely loose, it's going to pop loose, and the spring tension is going to push the lower control arm down. Now I'm going to do exactly what I said probably not a great idea, and I'm going to put the jack under it. I just don't want it to pop completely down on me. I don't think it will, but it's a lot of pressure on these springs. I'm gonna put it right there. And like I said, keep yourself out of the line of fire here. Okay, so I took the shock loose on the top, so it's no longer holding it. And I took the ball joints completely loose on the bottom. So there's really nothing else that can be holding spring tension on this. It should be loose. And you can see it's not sitting on the bottom seat either, so it is loose. Didn't try to spring out at all like I thought it was going to. Some cars, there'll be a lot more pressure on there and it'll spring loose. This one didn't do that, so that's a good thing. All right, so now I'm gonna take the bottom of the shock loose, and I've got to take these two bolts back here at the back loose and kind of concerned that I'm gonna have to take the exhaust manifold, the exhaust pipe down, because it looks like it might be in the way of the back bolt. But I'll see how it is and I'll let you know. Okay, so I just wanted to show, you see this is all the way down now. I figured out that it was resting on the bottom of the backing plate for the brakes. When I knocked this off with the hammer, this thing fell down. And you can see it's still not, it was not a tremendous amount of force or anything, so just be careful with it. Make sure you stay clear of everything you do. But now I'm gonna get the rest of this apart, the spring out of it and the shock out of it. Okay, so the spring's out. There it is. And I got the new springs from UMI. They're supposed to be lowering springs, so to lower the front of the car down 2 inches. These cars tend to set high from the factory in the front. I think they look cooler with the rake, a little bit of a rake to it. So I got the spring out, now I got these 2 bolts here, and this is the one I was talking about. I'm afraid it's going to be trying to run into the exhaust pipe. So I'm probably going to have to lower the exhaust pipe maybe. I really don't want to. Hopefully those bolts are good. A lot of times you start messing with those things and you create problems that you don't have. So hopefully that's not the case with this one, but we'll see. Okay, so as I was afraid of, the rear bolt here is in the way of the exhaust pipe coming down off the manifold is in the way of getting the rear bolt out. So I'm gonna have to lower the exhaust manifold or the exhaust pipe. And I really don't like doing that because I'm disturbing the gasket and everything else. And hopefully all the bolts come off good. Anyway, that's what I gotta do. There's no choice in the matter. Okay, so I did have to take the exhaust pipe down, and to my surprise, there is no gasket there. It's just a flange built on the exhaust manifold that the pipe goes up to. So I had to take the 3 bolts out so I could slide out the bolt on here. And on my control arm, one of them's round, one of the bushings are round, and one of them is oval shaped. And that was an option when I got ready to purchase the parts, is round or oval shape. So I had to look and see if mine had which one mine had, and I figured that out. Anyway, now I got to remove I'm gonna clean it up some, but I got to remove the ball joint and the bushings and put the new ones in. All right, so I got to press out this ball joint. And I'm going to press it out just like this. You can do it other ways, but since I got a press, that's what I'm going to use. Okay, so I've got ball joint press pieces in here. You don't have to have that. You just got to have something that fits it. Starting to press it, and it's coming right out just like it should. Kind of took me a few minutes to find all the parts I needed to do this, but if you have everything together, it's a pretty easy job. See, the ball joint presses right out, and that's how it's supposed to come out. All right, so I'm on my second set of bushings right now, taking them out. And I actually just decided to try to do the same thing I normally do, but without burning the rubber out. And it actually worked really good. So I think that's my new favorite way of removing the bushings. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. You just take this, you gotta have a big chisel and a pretty heavy hammer. Take it in there and get right in the middle of the bushing and start hammering. And what what you're doing essentially is making this bushing smaller, so it's going to fall out. Amazing how easy that was. It's the easiest way I found yet, and definitely the way I'm going to do it from now on. You don't have to make the big mess like I made right here with burning them. Nothing gets hot. There's no reason to do it the other way. Just thought I would show that. Okay, now I'm going to show putting the bushings back in. And you want to do this in a way that doesn't bend these arms. Take my word for that. I bent the arms on the first side when I was trying to do this. And I learned that that's not a good thing to do, because then I had to bend them back. I had to make a rig with this big bolt to put in there, piece of all thread, and spread the things back out. And it worked. I got it back in, but it was a pain in the butt and wasted a lot of time. The longer wrench you have, a lot more leverage you get. Because it does take some pressure to put this thing into place. And that worked. It's in place. Should be good. The arm should not be bent. That's what we're going for. We do not want the arm to get bent, because it has to line up or you'll never get it into place. And there you go. I'm not gonna lie and say it's easy, but it's doable. But it's not easy. Takes some strength. So I'm going to press in the ball joint with the hydraulic press. Just going to put this piece of pipe here underneath it, so that it can press down into it. Just like that, it presses in. You want it to be all the way flush, which it is. Okay, so now we got the control arms back on, and I have the sway bar end links, and it comes with all the stuff. These things are pretty straightforward. Put a rubber piece on each side, and of course you put a metal piece on each side of the rubber pieces. But they're pretty easy to put on. I'm not really going to show a lot of detail. So this is what it's supposed to look like when you've completed it. You got bushings on all sides of the metal, and everything's nice and new and clean, and you tighten it up fairly snug tight. Okay, so I got everything put back together now. I adjusted the tie rod ends as close to where they were as I could. Now I've got to torque the tie rod ends at 40 foot-pounds, and it says 68 foot-pounds on the idler arm nuts, and that's pretty much it. The hardest part of this job was most definitely the lower control arms, and they were a lot easier once I figured that out too. So this is the GTO after it's completely put back together.
It's got the 2-inch drop springs in the front made by UMI. And actually it has a 2-inch spacer in the back below the springs. I may take those out now, but you can see it's a pretty significant drop in the front compared to what it was. But I think it looks good. Like I said, I may lower the back down, take the 2 inches out, so it's not such a steep break. And anyway, I hope this video helps somebody. I know it's not completely thorough in the details, but I tried to do it as good as I could. And I did figure out a good way to remove those bushings. I hope that helps somebody, because that was a lot easier than any of the ways that I've tried. So please like and subscribe.